Tonight, we escape into the shadows for another edition of Steamy Stories After Dark, marked by midnight. If you find yourself captivated by my stories, share the secret with a friend. Please subscribe to join our community. And if you'd like, leave a comment to share what time it is and what part of the world you are in as you listen. It is nice to see the reach this series is getting. Settle in. The journey starts now.
They call the midnight mark a myth, a ghost story. A rumor freshmen whisper in the back of the Arkenfall library to scare each other away from wandering once the sun slips below the iron gates. But I know better. In a place that smells like old paper, expensive cologne, and secrets that could ruin a family name, the myths are usually the only things that are real. My name is Elara. For 3 years I was the girl no one saw, the scholarship kid, the one in the shadows with her head down, the one who did whatever it took to cling to her one escape route out of a life spent serving the heirs of Arkenfall. The plan was simple: graduate, disappear, never look back. But tonight, as the clock creeps toward midnight, I don't feel invisible. I feel hunted. And the worst part is, a small, pathetic part of me wants to be caught. Across the quad, the After Dark ball is in full swing. I can feel it even from my tiny dorm room. The bus thrums through the stone like a second heartbeat. Laughter drifts up. Every so often a burst of music swells just enough for me to catch a lyric before it fades back into rain and distance. I wasn't invited. Not officially anyway. People like me don't get gold ink invitations slid under the door. We get tuition reminders and GPA warnings. I tell myself I don't care. I have my own rituals. A chipped mug of tea. Notes highlighted to the edge of sanity. The warm amber glow of my desk lamp soaking the pages. Outside, the rain draws silver lines down the window. It turns expensive cars and black umbrellas into blurred smudges of light. Safe. Invisible. Just how I like it. Except tonight, the quiet feels wrong. Too thin, stretched tight, like something is pressing against it from the other side. My gaze drifts to the photo on my wall. It was taken during the first week of term, 3 years ago. The welcome ceremony on the central lawn, students in crisp uniforms, the dean on the steps, and off to the side, him, Kade Valen. Even in the blur of the picture, he's obvious. Dark shirt, sleeves rolled up, tie already loosened, like rules are more of a suggestion than anything else. That first week, people whispered his last name in cafeteria lines. They traded rumors like currency. The Valens don't just donate wings to the Academy. They own them. Old money. Old influence. Old power that doesn't always bother to stay legal. I haven't really met him. Not properly. But there have been moments. Passing him on the stairs and feeling his gaze skim over me like a question he's already answered. Sitting 2 rows behind him in applied sigils. Watching silver ink flow effortlessly from his pen, while mine scratches and sputters. And then there are the stories. That his mark burns hotter than anyone else's. That nobody he claims stays unprotected or untouched for long. I tell myself I don't care. That it doesn't matter what his voice sounds like up close. That it doesn't matter how his silver eyes would look if they focused on me instead of Arkenfall's glittering social ladder. I'm here to survive, not to be chosen. The clock on my wall ticks over to 11:47 p.m. I stretch, roll my shoulders, close my notebook. The ink swims a little on the page. I'm too restless to pretend I care about exam dates and rune variations. The rain picks up, tapping a quick, nervous rhythm against the glass. Outside, voices rise and fall in the quad. A burst of drunken singing. The distant flare of someone's enchanted laughter. Spell going off like a firework. I pull my cardigan tighter around me and move to the window. From up here, the after-dark ball looks like another world. Golden lights hang from the courtyard trees and sway gently in the wind. Clusters of students in emerald, deep red, and ink black drift across the lawn like game pieces. At the center, under the largest tree, the marking circle glows with a soft silver light. Even from this distance, I can see the way couples step into it 2 by 2. The air shimmers around them for a heartbeat as their wrists brush, and the magic decides whether they're worthy of a bond. Some emerge laughing, unmarked. Others come out with their wrists glowing softly, cheeks flushed, eyes wide like they've just signed a contract with their own desire. I press my forehead lightly to the cool glass. "Not for you?" I whisper. "You're not here for that." Behind me, my dorm room hums with familiar clutter. Books, blankets, the faint citrus of my cheap candle. Safe, predictable. I turn away from the window. I don't know it yet, but somewhere between the rain, the music, and the silver glow of the marking circle, my name is already being written. By the time I crawl into bed, the ball has blurred into background noise. The music has settled into a steady pulse, low and distant, like a heartbeat under the floorboards. The rain has softened to a gentle hiss. I lie on my side with the blanket pulled up to my chin, watching the sliver of light under my door. Someone laughs out in the hallway, high and breathless. Then a door clicks shut. The corridor goes quiet again, safe, contained. I let my eyes close. For a while there's nothing but my own breathing and the rain. My thoughts drift. Tuition deadlines, exam schedules. The way Kade Valen leaned in the library doorway earlier this week. Sleeves pushed up. Tie gone. Like the whole academy exists just to give him somewhere interesting to be bored. I exhale, annoyed with myself. "Stop it," I mutter. "You're not his type. You're not anybody's type here." The clock ticks on the wall. 11:58 p.m. The first sign that something is wrong is the cold. It slips into the room without warning. A thin, sharp draft that makes the hairs on my arm stand up. My breath comes out in a faint, visible wisp. I frown and open my eyes. The window is closed. The heater in the corner still hums quietly. Nothing looks different. Then my left wrist starts to sting. At first it feels like a cramp from too much note-taking. A dull ache I could almost ignore. I flex my fingers and rub the heel of my palm over the inside of my wrist. The sting sharpens. Heat blooms under my skin, small and focused, like someone has pressed the tip of a lit match just beneath the surface. I hiss softly and sit up, pushing the blanket down. The room feels wrong now, too quiet. The music from the quad seems farther away, swallowed up by the rushing in my ears. I swing my legs over the side of the bed and lift my arm closer to my face. At first there's nothing, just pale skin, a faint indentation where my bracelet usually rests. Then, light. A thin thread of silver flickers beneath the surface, tracing a line along the inside of my wrist. It pulses once, twice, in time with my heartbeat. Then it begins to spread, curling into delicate, unfamiliar shapes. "No," I whisper. "No, no, no." Marks don't just appear. They require consent. Two people stepping into the circle together. Two willing wrists offered to the magic. That's the rule. The one rule everyone agrees on, no matter how rich or reckless they are. I haven't touched anyone tonight. I haven't even left my room. The heat intensifies, pushing a bead of sweat down the back of my neck. Silver lines flow faster now, weaving and crossing, forming something deliberate. A pattern? A symbol? Letters? My pulse hammers. The room feels smaller. The shadows feel deeper. The rain outside roars in my ears like an ocean. I stand on shaky legs and cross to the window, needing more light. The courtyard below swims into view through streaks of water, tiny figures, glittering fabric. The soft halo of the marking circle still glowing under the old tree. Another spike of pain lances through my wrist. I gasp and press my palm flat to the cold glass. The world narrows until all that exists is the burn beneath my skin and the silver glow bright enough to cast faint reflections on the window. Slowly, trembling, I turn my wrist so I can see it clearly. The lines have settled. Curves and sharp edges resolve into something devastatingly simple. A name. Valen. For a heartbeat, everything goes silent. No rain, no music, no ticking clock. Just that word, carved in light over my pulse. Like the universe has written it there and signed it in silver. My knees nearly buckle. Kade Valen, I breathe. His name tastes strange on my tongue. Too heavy for such a small room. Doesn't make sense. People lie to get near marks like his. They fight over rumors of his attention. They don't hide in tiny dorm rooms with secondhand blankets, chipped mugs, and overdue library books. This has to be a mistake, a magical glitch, a side effect of too many late nights and too much caffeine. The mark pulses, hot, insistent, as if offended by the thought. Heat shoots up my arm, spreads through my chest, and floods my body with a dizzy, weightless feeling. Like the moment a roller coaster drops and there's nothing underneath you. Images flash behind my eyes. The courtyard. The glowing circle. A tall figure in black under the old tree. Silver eyes half-lidded. Bored. While someone laughs too loudly at his side. A feeling. Low and terrifyingly intimate. Like the brush of a stranger's breath against the back of my neck. Mine. The word isn't mine, but I feel it as clearly as if someone has whispered it into my ear. I jerk back from the window, heart racing, clutching my wrist to my chest. This isn't happening, I say to the empty room. I didn't agree to this. I didn't step into any circle. You can't just... A soft knock sounds at my door. 3 slow, deliberate taps. The mark on my wrist flares white hot. Open up, scholarship girl. The voice on the other side of the wood is low and smooth. There's amusement threaded through it, but not much warmth. I freeze. I've heard that voice in lecture halls from the back row. In corridors, wrapped lazily around someone's name like a promise. Once, cutting through the quiet of the library to ask a professor a question no one else would have dared to phrase that way. Kade, I whisper, even though there's no way he can hear me. Another knock. Same calm rhythm, like he has all the time in the world. I'm not going away, he adds. You might want to see this from my side before it burns through your skin. My brain screams at me to stay silent. Lock the door. Hide. Wait him out until he gets bored and drifts back to his glittering world. But the mark pulses again, sharp, insistent. It drags a soft sound from my throat. Before I can talk myself out of it, I cross the room and wrap my fingers around the doorknob. The metal is cold. I turn it and open the door. Kade Valen is leaning in the doorframe like he's been there his whole life. Up close, the details hit harder. Dark hair, falling just messy enough to look intentional. Black dress shirt, sleeves rolled to his forearms. Collar open to reveal a hint of warm skin and the edge of a silver chain. A small ring in his brow catches the hallway light when he tilts his head and his eyes. They're worse than I remember. Silver, yes, but not flat or cold. Bright, sharp, alive as they sweep over me. His gaze drops to my wrist, still glowing faintly between us. There it is, he says softly. I was starting to wonder if you'd fainted. I swallow. My voice comes out thinner than I want. This has to be a mistake. One corner of his mouth curves. Arkenfall Circle doesn't make mistakes, he says. People do. Circles don't. He lifts his own left hand. His wrist is bare. No glow, no delicate pattern. Just tanned skin. Veins faintly visible under the surface. Confusion must be all over my face because his smile deepens. I didn't need the circle tonight, he says. There are other ways to make a claim. He straightens and steps just inside my room without asking. He doesn't need to. The air seems to shift around him, annoyed it didn't move sooner. Up close, I can smell him. Clean and warm, edged with smoke and rain. I instinctively take a step back. He doesn't follow. Instead, he raises his hand between us, palm open. May I? He asks. It takes a second for me to understand. My wrist, I manage. His eyes flick up to mine. For the first time, I see something like patience there. That mark is going to keep burning until it finishes settling, he says. I can dull it, but only if you let me touch you. The word touch seems to vibrate in the small room. My skin already feels too tight. The mark throbs, sending sparks up my arm and across my chest. I can keep pretending this isn't happening, or I can find out what it means. I lift my arm slowly. His fingers close around my wrist. Warm, firm. The world narrows to that single point of contact. The burn flares bright, then softens. It's like his touch gives it somewhere to go. My knees weaken. I have to lock them to stay upright. Better? He murmurs. I nod, not trusting my voice. He turns my wrist gently, studying the silver letters as if they're a poem written just for him. Valen glows steadily. The light beats in time with my heart. He brushes his thumb once, lightly, over the edge of the mark. A shiver shoots through me. Hot. Electric. He feels it. I see the quick flash of satisfaction in his eyes before he hides it. Why? I manage. Why me? You have an entire ball full of people who'd kill for this. I didn't even go. That's exactly why, he says. He doesn't look away from my wrist as he speaks. Anyone can stand in a circle and hope the magic decides they're worth a pretty glow and a few weeks of attention. You, his gaze lifts to mine, stay out of the light. You do the work. You don't ask for anything. His thumb stills on my skin. People like that don't get what they deserve at Arkenfall unless someone cheats on their behalf. My breath catches. This is cheating, I whisper. Absolutely, he says. You can yell at me for it later. For now. He lets my wrist go slowly, his fingers trailing over my skin like a reluctant goodbye. I need you at the next after dark ball, he says, midnight under the old tree. Wear something you don't mind ruining. Heat climbs my neck. I never agreed to be part of this, I say. You can't just decide I belong to you because you're bored. Something flickers across his face. For a second, the lazy amusement drops. What's underneath is darker, sharper. Don't make the mistake of thinking I did this because I was bored, Elara. The way he says my name makes my stomach flip. He steps back into the doorway. One hand rests on the frame. You can pretend you don't care, he says. You can ignore the way your pulse jumps every time this burns with my name. You can even hate me for it if that makes it easier. His gaze drops once more to my wrist, then returns to my face. But you can't undo it. He smiles. Slow. Dangerous. Beautiful in a way that feels like a warning. Sleep, scholarship girl, he says. You'll need your strength. With that, he turns and walks down the hall, unhurried, like he's just finished a casual conversation instead of rearranging my entire life. I stand there until the sound of his footsteps fades. Then I close the door softly and lean my back against it. The room feels different now. Same four walls, same bed, same stack of notes on my desk. But nothing feels safe anymore, or maybe nothing feels small. I look down at my wrist. The glow has faded to a soft, steady shimmer, like moonlight caught beneath my skin. Without thinking, I raise it to my lips and press a kiss just below the letters. I freeze, horrified at myself. What are you doing? I whisper. There's no answer, just the quiet tick of the clock. 12:07 a.m. Outside, the rain has settled into a steady, soothing curtain, muffling the last echoes of music from the quad. I crawl back into bed and lie on my back, staring at the ceiling. Every time I close my eyes, I see his. Silver. Steady. Watching me like I'm the first interesting thing he's seen all night. My wrist pulses once, a soft, warm throb against my chest where I've tucked my hand. Maybe, if I try hard enough, I can pretend this is a strange dream, a stress-induced hallucination brought on by too much studying and not enough sleep. But somewhere underneath the fear and confusion, something else curls quietly. Anticipation. I exhale slowly and let my eyes close, letting the sound of the rain pull me under. I don't know what will happen when midnight comes again. I only know one thing. For the first time since I arrived at Arkenfall, I'm not planning how to disappear. I'm waiting to see what happens if I stay. I don't dream that night. Not really. I drift in and out of the same memory, replaying it from different angles, trying to catch proof that it wasn't real. The knock on my door, the silver eyes in the dark, his hand closing around my wrist, the fire in my skin going soft like it knew him. By the time my alarm finally goes off, thin and tinny in the gray pre-dawn, I feel like I haven't slept at all. I lie there for a second, staring at the underside of the bunk above me. My roommate is still snoring softly. One arm is thrown over the edge of her mattress, fingers dangling in the air like she might catch a dream if it falls past. For a moment, I almost convinced myself it was all a stress hallucination. Exams. Too much caffeine. Not enough food. Arkenfall cracking me down the middle. I lift my arm. The mark is waiting for me. Valen in dark ink black script curves along the inside of my wrist. It sits there like my skin grew around it on purpose. It's not burning now. The edges are a little tender, like a half-healed bruise. When I touch it lightly, heat flares under my fingertip, sharp enough to pull in a breath. Okay, I whisper into the cold morning light. Still here. Still his. The word slips through my mind before I can stop it. Mine, he'd said, like it was a fact older than either of us. I let my arm drop to my chest and close my eyes again. I could go to the administration office, show them, ask if there's some procedure for undoing a mark that wasn't made in the circle. There has to be something in the rules about this. There are binders full of regulations for every tiny thing at Arkenfall. Dress codes, curfew, how long you're allowed to loiter in the courtyard. Somewhere, there has to be a page for this. But when I picture myself standing at that high, polished counter, trying to explain that the owner of the academy broke some ancient magical protocol to put his name in my skin, my stomach twists. They'd either laugh or they'd believe me. I don't know which is worse. The alarm keeps chiming, insistent. I slap it off and sit up. The room is freezing, the radiator hissing weakly in protest. I swing my legs over the edge and shiver when my feet hit the cold floor. Class. If I don't move, life will. It always does. I tug on my uniform mechanically. White shirt, charcoal skirt, worn cardigan that used to belong to someone else's older sister. Then I stand in front of the crooked mirror nailed to the wardrobe and roll my sleeves down. The fabric slides over the mark. It reacts instantly. Heat blooms beneath the cuff, slow but unmistakable, like the touch of a palm from the inside out. I'm hiding you, I murmur to my own reflection. Get used to it. The glow dims. Through cotton and skin, it's barely visible, a subdued ember. My eyes look different today. Maybe it's the lack of sleep, the half moons of shadow beneath them. Or maybe it's the knowledge that somewhere, in the labyrinth of stone and glass that is Arkenfall Academy, there's a man with my name carved into his night, and his stamped into my flesh. I force my gaze away from the mirror, grab my bag, and slip quietly out of the dorm room before my roommate wakes up. I don't want to explain why my hands are shaking. By the time the sun drags itself over the jagged spires of Arkenfall, the campus is already awake. The central courtyard hums with voices and footsteps. Metal clinks as someone drops a coffee tumbler too hard against a stone bench. Students stream between buildings in perfectly pressed uniforms and expensive coats. Laughter echoes off old stone. I pull my thrift store jacket tighter and try to disappear into the flow. I'm good at this part. Head down. Notebooks hugged to my chest. Walk like you're going somewhere important, like you have a right to be here. The air tastes damp and metallic, like it might rain later. Somewhere, the tower bells toll the quarter hour. Under my sleeve, the mark stirs. Not a burn this time. More like a prickle, a sudden awareness of my own pulse. I stop at the edge of the courtyard, frowning. My heart isn't racing. I'm not late. Nothing is. Laughter breaks out behind me. I turn my head just enough to see a cluster of upper years lounging under one of the carved archways. They watch everyone drift past. Their blazers are embroidered with delicate silver thread around the cuffs and collars. Tiny sigils mark them as part of one of the old houses. Old blood. Old money? One of the girls, all sharp cheekbones and perfect eyeliner, lets her gaze sweep the courtyard. It snags on me. It's only for a second, but in that second she looks at me like she's seeing past the cheap jacket and the scholarship anonymity to something else. Something shining. Her eyes dip as if she can see straight through wool and skin to the black letters on my wrist. She leans toward the boy next to her and whispers. His gaze follows hers. They both go very still. The mark responds with a hot, pulsing flare that makes me catch my breath. I snap my eyes away and force my feet to move. One step, then another. Like the stone under my shoes might open up if I stay too long in one place. You're imagining it, I tell myself. People stare at you all the time. You're the scholarship girl? The one who works in the library and tutors in the basement and can't afford the meal plan that includes coffee. This is normal. But as I cross the courtyard, I feel eyes following me. Snatches of conversation break off when I pass. A pair of first years whisper behind their hands, their gazes flicking to my covered wrists. They can't know. They can't. The mark pulses once, slow and deliberate. Agreement or denial. I can't tell which. I keep walking. My first class is Advanced Arcane Theory in one of the older lecture halls. It has narrow seats and long sloping rows, like the whole room was built to funnel attention down onto the professor. I slip into a seat halfway up in the middle. Safest place to be invisible. Usually I can lose myself here. The math of magic is a distraction I understand. Symbols, correspondences, equations that bind the intangible world into something you can write on a board and test on an exam. Today, my focus frays at the edges. The professor drones on about the historical uses of the marking circle in pre-convergence rituals. My pen moves on autopilot, but the words might as well be in another language. Marking circle. I underline the term without meaning to. The circle, the professor is saying, was always meant to be a public covenant, witnessed, recorded, and bound not only by magic but by law. It is in theory impossible to alter or circumvent the terms once set. The mark under my sleeve throbs with quiet heat, as if in dissent. In theory, the professor repeats with a wry little smile. Of course there are stories, legends, whispers of bonds formed outside the sanctioned rites, private claims, dark pacts. The air in the room shifts. It's subtle. A tension in the oxygen. The way the tiny hairs on my arms stand on end. I breathe in, and the scent of old paper and chalk dust is cut through by something colder. Ozone. The faintest hint of winter smoke. The mark tightens. The heat sharpening into a burn. My pen stops moving. Don't, I beg silently, though I'm not sure if I'm talking to my skin or to whatever it's reacting to. Not here. Not in front of... I don't turn around. I don't have to. I feel him, like a change in pressure, like the way the sea knows when a storm is still miles away. The door at the back of the lecture hall closes with a soft, final click. The professor's words falter, then smooth themselves out again with practiced poise. Ah, Mr. Valen, how good of you to join us. Valen. The entire row in front of me stiffens almost imperceptibly. He walks down the aisle with unhurried steps, as if the class simply reshapes itself around his lateness. Each stride brings a fresh wave of heat crashing against the inside of my wrist, synchronized with my heartbeat, until I can't tell where one ends and the other begins. I keep my eyes on my notebook. One more step. Another. The mark is burning now, not unbearable, but bright and insistent, like a hand pressed over my pulse. He stops somewhere to my left. The professor clears his throat. As I was saying, the marking circle was designed to prevent unilateral claims. Until the reforms, both parties had to consent and be present. Otherwise, Kade Valen says. His voice is quiet, but it slides under the professor's and becomes the new center of gravity. You were left with a bond the law couldn't quite recognize, but the magic could never forget. The room goes silent. My bones remember that voice. Last night he spoke just as softly, not needing volume to make me feel cornered. Velvet, controlled cadence. A blade wrapped in silk. My fingers curl around my pen. Ink smudges along the edge of my notes. "Is that correct, Professor?" he adds mildly. A beat of tension. Then the professor chuckles, uneasy. "Yes, well, that is one way some scholars have described it, Mr. Valen. Though in our official curriculum, we focus on the sanctioned applications." A few students laugh on cue. I don't. I can't. Every nerve ending in my wrist is on fire. The mark pulses in time with the awareness of him. He isn't touching me. I'm not even sure he's looking at me. And still my body knows. "Please, take a seat," the professor says, relief bleeding into his tone. There's an empty spot 3 chairs down from me. I know it's there because I chose this row and that gap on purpose, leaving space so I wouldn't have to make eye contact with anyone. The seat creaks as someone sinks into it. Air moves. The burn in my wrist spikes, then settles into a deep, aching heat. Slowly, because I can't help it, I let my gaze flick sideways. Silver eyes, closer than in my dreams. He lounges in his chair like this is the front row of a show he commissioned. Dark uniform perfectly tailored. Tie loosened just enough to suggest he obeys the dress code out of amusement, not obligation. He doesn't look at the professor. He looks at my hand. My sleeve rides up a fraction when I move my fingers, just enough to hint at ink under skin. His mouth curves. I snap my gaze back to my notes as if they might save me. The professor resumes his lecture. Words about consent and covenants and historical precedent wash over the room. Under the desk, my hand curls into a fist. The mark responds. Heat pulses like a yes. I try to ignore him for the rest of class. I fail. Every time he shifts his weight, I feel it. When his pen taps once against his notebook, my mark flares. When he exhales a quiet, bored breath, the sound coils through the space between us and settles low in my spine. I don't look at him again. I don't have to. I feel watched without being touched, known without being seen. By the time the bell rings, my wrist feels raw. Students stand, chairs scrape, paper rustles. Conversation comes back to life. I pack my things quickly, like I might outrun the gravity well sitting 3 chairs away. My bag is over my shoulder and my hand is on the strap when a shadow falls across my desk. "Miss." His voice is soft, pitched for me alone. "Marrow." I freeze. He remembers my name. Of course he does. He put his on my skin. I look up. From this close, his eyes are even worse. Not just silver, pale gray threaded with darker shards, like cracked ice. They take me in without hurry. My face, the tension in my shoulders, the way I'm half turned toward the aisle like I'm already in motion. His gaze drops once to my covered wrist. Is it behaving? He asks, amusement ghosting around the edges of his words. I did tell you it would stop burning. It's fine, I manage. My voice comes out a little hoarse. Thank you. One dark brow lifts. You're thanking me. I'm thanking you for not marking me in the circle where everyone could see. The words tumble out clumsy and wrong. They hang between us like a confession. His smile is slow and small. It doesn't reach his eyes. Somehow it still makes the air feel thinner. You think this a mercy, he says. I swallow. Isn't it? His hand moves. Before I can flinch, his fingers brush my cuff. Just a fraction, as if he's adjusting an invisible thread. The mark erupts in warmth, liquid and dizzying. Not like a burn, like something else. Like having your name whispered against bare skin. I bite back a sound. His gaze sharpens, tracking every tiny reaction. You should be careful, he murmurs, with how you think about mercy. At the front of the room, the professor clears his throat loudly, reminding everyone he exists. Students are still filing out. Kade straightens, raking a hand through his dark hair. It's an easy, careless motion, like he's resetting the scene. Don't forget, he adds, almost casually. Midnight, the after dark ball, the old tree. My heart stutters. I haven't said I'm going, I blurt. No, he agrees. You haven't. He steps past me, the scent of cold air and something darker trailing after him. At the doorway, without looking back, he says, but the mark doesn't like being ignored. Then he's gone, swallowed by a tide of students who part for him without realizing they're doing it. I sit there long after the room empties. My pulse thuds against my wrist. His name glows faintly under my skin like an answer I don't remember asking for. The whispers get louder after that. At first I tell myself I'm imagining them, that the eyes following me down the hall and the conversations that cut off when I pass are just imposter syndrome, Arkenfall edition. But by lunchtime, lying to myself is pointless. 2 girls at the end of my table in the dining hall huddle over their phones, giggling. I swear it lit up, one whispers. I saw it at the circle last term. Kyle Wren's mark, full-on flash when she walked in. This one's different, though, the other murmurs. No ceremony, no announcement, just suddenly someone has ink and no one knows who put it there, or how. You mean the scholarship girl? I freeze halfway through a bite of apple. My eyes stay on the table, on the scratches and initials carved into the wood. My hearing sharpens. Yeah, her. Elara, the first girl says. You've seen the way she moves lately? Like the halls are watching her? Maybe they are, the second girl replies in a mock ominous voice. Then lower. You think it's true? That he... Their voices drop too low for me to catch the rest. I set the apple down. My appetite is gone. It's not just them. In the breadline, a boy in house colors glances at my hands and then away too fast. In the library, 2 students at the next table keep shooting looks at my sleeve, as if waiting for it to light up. No one asks me directly. No one has to. Rumors at Arkenfall work like spells. Say them a few times in the right circles, and they build their own reality. Scholarship girl. Unregistered mark. Valen. By the time my afternoon break arrives, I feel like my skin is too tight. I retreat to the only place that has ever felt entirely mine, the archives. The main library is a cathedral of shelves and filtered sunlight. The archives below are another world. The air is colder. Dust motes drift in the dim light. There's a faint tang of iron from old bindings. Rows of glass-fronted cases stretch away like a maze. The moment the heavy door swings shut behind me, my shoulders drop. No open laughter. No gossip. Just the quiet, patient presence of things that don't care who you are, as long as you handle them gently. I flash my student worker badge at the sensor and slip behind the main desk. Instead of heading to the cart of returns, I veer left, deeper into the stacks. Arcane law, marking rituals, covenants, and contracts. The titles are a map of my panic. I pull out a volume at random. Its leather is cracked, the gold lettering almost worn away. On the binding of souls and names, my heart jumps. I carry it to a narrow table under a single reading lamp and open it. The pages smell like dust and secrets. I flip through until a phrase catches my eye. While the marking circle is now the predominant, regulated form of bonding, the text reads, "Older traditions persist in the shadows. These claims are often private, effected without witnesses, and rely less on the ritual circle than on direct contact, blood, skin, or breath." My fingers tighten on the page. In such cases, the law does not always recognize the bond, but the magic does. The mark, once manifested, is not easily severed, as it is born of will rather than ceremony. Two souls, one choosing, the other chosen, sealed by intent rather than consent. I read the line again. Two souls, one choosing, the other chosen. But that's not, I whisper. My voice catches. I didn't choose. Did I? Last night, I opened the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't scream. I didn't pull my wrist away when he touched it and the burn eased under his fingers. I stood there and let it happen. The thought makes my stomach pitch. I turn the page. There are sketches of marks. At wrists at the base of the throat, over the heart. Dark script at places where the skin is thinnest. Midway down the next page, a passage hooks me. Those who are claimed in this manner report heightened sensitivity whenever the claimant is near. Heat, pressure, a sense of being watched even across a crowded room. Proximity often triggers an instinctive response from the mark, as if aware of its origin. I close my eyes. Heat in the lecture hall. Silver eyes on my hand. I don't need the book to tell me what my body already knows. The mark is his. It reacts to him like metal to a magnet. "What are you doing here, little librarian?" The voice drifts over my shoulder like a shadow. I jump. The book jerks under my hands. I didn't hear the door. I didn't hear footsteps, but the mark does. It wakes up under my skin, from prickle to a steady thrum that spreads up my arm and into my chest. Slowly, I look up. Kade Valen leans against the end of the shelf opposite my table, arms folded loosely, watching me with open curiosity. His blazer is gone. The white of his shirt glows faintly in the dim light. His collar is open, his throat bare. He looks wildly out of place down here, a storm cloud in a museum. "I work here," I say, a little too fast. "Remember?" His gaze flicks to the badge on my sweater, then back to my face. "I remember," he says. "You stamped my late fees into oblivion last term. Very noble of you." "You had late fees?" I ask. "Everyone breaks rules they wrote, Elara. The way he says my name," soft, deliberate, sends a shiver down my spine. I close the book slowly, pressing my palm over the text. I'm on break, I lie. I was just reading. On the binding of souls and names, he recites, tilting his head to read the cover. Light reading. It was on the shelf, I say weakly. Everything here is on the shelf. You chose that one. He's right. I hate that he's right. I hate that part of me wants a name for what he did. I chose it for class, I say. Arcane theory. We're studying the circle, and I thought. He laughs quietly. It's not cruel. Not exactly. But it still pins me in place. You're a terrible liar, he observes. The mark pulses, hot and agreeing. I tug my cuff down as if that could stop him from seeing. His eyes follow the movement. Does it hurt? He asks. No, I answer too fast. His gaze lifts to mine. I make myself hold it. After a moment, he walks closer. Each unhurried step thickens the air with the same electric charge I felt in the lecture hall. He stops on the other side of the table. The lamp casts a small circle of light between us, over the book in my hands. May I? He asks. The question startles me. May you what? His eyes flick down toward my wrist, then back up again. You know. My heart bangs once against my ribs. Last night he touched me without asking, as if my consent was a formality. Now, in the quiet of the archives, he stands very still. His hands hang loosely at his sides. Only his gaze moves, tracing the line of my covered mark. I should say no. I should walk out. Report him. Run. Just for a moment, I hear myself say. His lashes lower in acknowledgement. He reaches out. This time, I brace for the heat. His fingers ghost over my cuff, then press lightly, directly above the letters of his name. The mark flares. My breath catches. It doesn't hurt. It feels like someone turned up the volume on my nerves. Every inch of skin under his touch is overwhelmingly alive, bright, raw, and hungry in a way that scares me. I close my eyes for a heartbeat. Better? He murmurs. I should lie. I should tell him it doesn't matter, that I barely notice, that this is nothing and he is nothing. It's worse, I whisper. Silence. It stretches out between us. I can feel the shape of his smile in it. When I touch it, he asks. When you're near. The words slip out before I can stop them. Fragile. Reckless. I open my eyes. He watches me like I'm the first interesting thing that's happened to him in a long time. Good, he says quietly. My heart stumbles. Good? If distance dulled it, he says, drawing his hand back, I'd have to keep you close to make sure you didn't forget. I'm trying to forget, I blurt. I'm trying to go to class. Do my job. Pretend this is some fever dream that will wear off if I ignore it long enough. How's that working out? He asks. His gaze dips to the open book. I follow it. 2 souls, one choosing, the other chosen. Not great. This isn't a fever dream, Elara, he says. His voice softens slightly. Ignoring it won't make it disappear. That's not how these things work. You broke the rules, I say, clinging to the anger because it's easier than everything else. The circle, the laws. My professor said unilateral marks aren't recognized by the council, he finishes. By administrators and professors and everyone else who thinks ink on parchment is what makes power real. Light catches in his eyes as he leans in a little. But the old magic doesn't care about their regulations. It never has. So that's it? I ask. You just, decided? And now I'm... The word jams in my throat. His. Marked. Owned. He studies me for a moment, then straightens. There are 3 days until the After Dark ball, he says instead. Midnight, under the old tree. Wear something you don't mind ruining. You already said that, I snap, my voice hitches. Sometimes people need to hear things more than once before they accept them, he says calmly. I haven't said I'm coming. His smile turns sharp with confidence. You will. Don't. My voice cracks. Don't talk like you know me. I know enough, he says. You're in the archives reading about forbidden bonds on your break. You're not in the administration office filing a complaint. You're not running. You're trying to understand instead of undo. Heat rises in my cheeks. That doesn't mean... It means, he cuts in gently, that some part of you is curious about what this is, about what you can be with it. His gaze moves over my face. Who you are when you stop planning how to disappear. The words slide past my defenses and sink deep. I hate how true they feel. You think putting your name on me means you get to decide who I am? I whisper. No, he says at once. The answer is quick enough to surprise me. No, he repeats softer. That was always your choice. The mark doesn't make you mine. It just makes it harder to pretend you were ever free of me. My breath stutters. That's supposed to make me feel better? It's not supposed to make you feel anything, he says. It's just the truth. He steps back. The pressure in the air eases. 3 days, he reminds me. If you don't come, the mark will complain. Complain, I echo. You felt it in the lecture hall, he says. That was only a taste. The more you fight it, the louder it gets. His gaze drops to my wrist one last time. And if you do come, his eyes lift to mine, then we can have a different kind of conversation. My heart hammers. What kind? I ask, even though I'm not sure I want to hear the answer. He smiles, slow and dark. The kind you can't have in a classroom or a library. He turns and walks away before I can decide if I'm more furious, terrified, or something else entirely. The door closes behind him with a soft thunk. Silence rushes back in. I sit there staring at the empty space where he stood. My wrist throbs under my sleeve like a heartbeat out of sync with my own. For the next 2 days, the mark never lets me forget it's there. In class, it warms when someone says his name. In the cafeteria, it prickles when I walk past the table where he sometimes sits, even if the chair is empty. At night, lying in my narrow bed, I feel it pulse in the dark, matching the distant tolling of the tower bells. Midnight feels closer every time I close my eyes. Posters for the After Dark ball appear everywhere. On bulletin boards. On doors. Projected in shimmery letters across the main stairwell. After Dark. A midwinter masquerade. Music. Dancing. Masks. All the things that belong to people who don't count every dining hall credit. People who don't worry their scholarship will evaporate if they're seen with the wrong person. The wrong person? Or the only person whose name my skin knows in ink. I tell myself I'm not going. Every time I see a poster, I walk faster. When classmates gossip about who they're going with, I bury myself in notes. When my mark flares for no reason, I tell it, firmly, that I don't have a dress. I don't have shoes. I don't have time. On the second evening, A small, unmarked envelope appears on my bunk. No name, no seal, just thin ivory paper, folded with precise care. My roommate is out. The room is quiet, heavy with the smell of her vanilla body spray and my cheap laundry detergent. I sit on the edge of the mattress and turn the envelope over. The mark hums, low and expectant. Of course, I mutter. Of course you're involved. I break the seal with my thumb. Inside is a single card. One side carries the ball's crest in dark ink, a stylized mask tangled with thorns and stars. On the other side, written in that same familiar elegant script as the mark on my wrist, are 4 words. Don't make me come. My heart lurches. That's not an invitation, I tell the empty room. That's a threat. The mark pulses once. I still can't tell if that means agreement. I set the card on my pillow and stand too quickly. In the wardrobe mirror, my reflection looks cornered. Eyes too bright, cheeks flushed, mouth pressed into a line that wants to be resolved and doesn't quite make it. I'm not going, I tell her. She doesn't look convinced. The day of the ball dawns gray and wet. Rain drums against the dorm window, steady and relentless, turning stone paths into dark, gleaming rivers. Students buzz with a different energy, nervous, excited. Conversations shift from exams to outfits, hair, and mysterious dates. Even some professors seem lighter. They let class out early and pretend not to notice the way everyone checks their phones for messages decorated with little moons and masks. I move through it all like a ghost. By late afternoon, the mark has settled into a low, constant ache. It feels like it's holding its breath. My last tutoring session runs long. The first year I'm helping with conjuration is sweet and eager, but hopeless with sigils. I try to focus on her questions and not the mark gnawing under my skin. Halfway through, explaining the difference between a summoning seal and an anchoring one, the tower bell rings 5 times. 5 o'clock. 7 hours until midnight. The mark surges hot enough to make me flinch. Are you okay? My student asks. I'm fine, I say tightly. Just a long day? Let's do that last problem one more time. By the time I finally make it back to my dorm, the sky is black. The hallway hums with hairdryers, laughter, and music leaking under doors. Someone down the hall is blasting a playlist full of heavy bass and dark pulsing beats. My roommate is already gone when I push open our door. There's a note taped to my bunk. L went early to help set up. You sure you don't want to come? It's supposed to be insane this year. Text me if you change your mind. C. I stare at the exclamation point after insane until it blurs. The mark is a steady, insistent throb. It feels like someone knocking from inside my wrist. I said no, I whisper to it. I can't show up to a ball hosted by the man who did this, wearing the same cardigan I wear to the archives. It doesn't answer, it just burns. I could stay, I could climb into bed, pull the blanket over my head, and let the night happen without me. Let the music, the laughter, and the secrets swirl above, safely out of reach. Pretend the heat in my arm is just a fever. Pretend the envelope, the card, the lecture hall, the archives, him, are all pieces of a story I can shelve and forget if I try hard enough. Or I could go, just to see, just to prove that stepping into his world doesn't mean I'll be swallowed by it. Just to find out what happens when, for once in my life, I don't run. His voice echoes in my memory, that night in my room. The terrifying realization that, for once, I wasn't planning how to disappear. I was waiting to see what happened if I stayed. My chest tightens. I hate you, I say to the air. I don't specify who I mean, Him, myself, the mark, it's probably all three. My feet move before my brain catches up. I drag my old suitcase out from under the bed. It's the same one I brought from home, packed with 3 sets of clothes and a handful of books. Buried under a sweater I never wear is a dress. I bought it on clearance the summer before Arkenfall. Tip money from the coffee shop. A thin hope that maybe, someday, I'd have somewhere to wear it. It's simple, black. The hem is a little frayed from too many fitting room mirrors. I hold it up in front of the mirror. He'd said, "Wear something you don't mind ruining. The dress isn't special. Not like the gowns I know are flowing toward the Great Hall right now. It isn't expensive. It doesn't shimmer. But when I picture it ruined, torn, stained, changed by this night into something that can't go back into hiding, it feels right, like a choice." I pull my sweater off. The room is cold. Goosebumps rise along my arms. The mark glows dark and sharp in the dim light. Valen. I trace the V with my fingertip. The motion is half reproach, half something else. "You don't get to decide what I am," I tell it quietly, "or what this means." Heat flares under my touch, then settles. I slip the dress on. The fabric slides over my skin with a soft sigh, settling around me like spilled ink. It's not perfect. The waist is a little loose. The neckline is higher than anything on the posters downstairs. But the girl in the mirror doesn't look like she's playing dress up. She looks like someone who chose to walk into the lion's den in a $20 dress, and her own stubbornness. My hair refuses to do anything fancy. I twist it up anyway and pin it until it mostly stays. A few strands fall loose around my face. I borrow a swipe of dark berry lipstick from my roommate's side of the dresser. It makes my mouth look like it has opinions. Finally, I roll my left sleeve up. For the first time since that night, I let the mark show. It sits on my wrist like a secret spoken out loud. The letters look darker against my pale skin. The edges are clean and sharp. Not a mistake. Not an accident. An assertion. My heart hammers so hard I feel it in my throat. Rain taps against the window, softer now. The music from the hall seeps through the walls in a dull throb. Somewhere underneath it, I hear the tower bell. 11 chimes. 1 hour. The mark pulses with each toll. I take a breath, then another. I grab the small clutch my roommate left out, just in case, and shove my student ID and a crumpled tissue inside. I have no idea what you're supposed to bring to a ball. I'm halfway to the door when I stop. A feeling rolls over me, a pressure. The air goes still and charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. The mark flares so suddenly I gasp. Heat shoots up my arm and into my chest. Before I can make sense of it, someone knocks. 3 quiet, deliberate taps. My hand freezes on the doorknob. For a heartbeat, the whole world narrows to the strip of wood in front of me and the name burning on my skin. Then, through that thin barrier, his voice. Low, velvet, unmistakable. "Elara," Kade Valen says. He sounds like he already knows what I chose. Open the door. I didn't have a mirror. Not the kind that told the truth, anyway. The dorm bathroom mirror was clouded at the edges, dotted with old toothpaste freckles. It always made my eyes look tired, like the world had been drinking from me all semester and left me dry. But tonight, Kade Valen had sent a dress, and with it, a mirror. A full-length gilded thing that didn't belong on campus. It didn't belong in my room. It was leaning against my wall like it had always been there, like my life had always been arranged for this moment. The box sat on my bed, black and severe. No logo, no card. Just my name, written in ink so crisp it looked like it had been pressed into the paper. Elara. Only that. No miss. No scholarship girl. No charity case. No polite distance. Just my name. I stood there for a long second with my fingers wrapped around the lid, breathing shallow. I was afraid the air would taste like him if I inhaled too deeply. The mark on my wrist was warm, not burning, not yet, just awake, as if it knew what I was about to do, as if it had been waiting. Don't, I whispered to myself, but my hands didn't listen. I lifted the lid. Black silk, midnight satin, a dress that looked like it had been poured out of shadow and stitched together with secrets. The fabric caught the lamplight with a soft, dangerous sheen, like a blade you didn't see until it was too late. I touched it with 2 fingers. It was wrong. Wrong to be in my room. Wrong to be for me. It was ruinously expensive, and it was revealing in a way that didn't feel accidental. A neckline that dipped like a confession. A back cut low enough that it felt like an invitation. And the sleeves, long, fitted, ending at my wrists like the dress knew exactly where my skin needed to be seen, where the mark lived. My throat tightened. Kade had picked this. Kade had imagined me in it. Kade had decided. I swallowed hard and forced myself to look away from the dress. I forced myself to look at the other thing in the box. A small velvet pouch. Inside was a bracelet. Thin, silver, simples. Too simple for him. Except when I turned it over, I saw the inner curve engraved with tiny letters, so delicate I almost missed them. Wear it. 2 words, no signature. But I could hear his voice in my head, like he was standing behind me, close enough that his breath would stir the hair at my ear. Wear it. My pulse stuttered. The mark warmed another degree, like a living thing pressing closer to the surface of my skin. I should have thrown the dress back in the box. I should have locked my door. I should have texted Rowan or Leela or literally anyone who wasn't wrapped up in Valen money and Valen rules. But I didn't. Because I had already learned the truth, I kept trying to pretend wasn't true. It wasn't about whether I went. It was about whether I obeyed. And some sick, traitorous part of me wanted to know what would happen if I did. I undressed slowly, like I was peeling off the version of myself that still believed I could stay invisible at Arkenfall. The dress slid over my skin like cold water at first. Then it warmed instantly, adapting to me, clinging in a way that felt almost possessive. The fabric hugged my waist, my hips, my ribs. The neckline left just enough exposed to make my breath catch when I looked. And when I turned to the mirror, I didn't recognize her. The girl staring back looked like she belonged in someone else's life, someone else's story, someone with a family crest and an inheritance, and a name people whispered with respect. My hair fell in dark waves over one shoulder. My mouth looked softer. My eyes looked brighter. like the dress had painted me into something dangerous. And my wrist. The mark glowed faintly under the sleeve's edge. Not enough to be obvious. Enough to be noticed if someone looked. Enough for him. I slipped on the bracelet. The moment the silver touched my skin, the mark responded. Heat bloomed beneath it, a pulse that traveled up my arm and into my chest like a warning, or a tether. I sucked in a breath and held it, staring at my reflection like she might answer me. "What are you doing?" I whispered. The girl in the mirror didn't speak, but her eyes looked like they knew, like they'd been waiting. The After Dark ball wasn't advertised, not officially, no posters, no student emails, no faculty announcements, but everyone knew. Arkenfall didn't need invitations for its rituals. It ran on rumors and inheritance, and the silent understanding that some things were for the elite, and some things were for the rest of us to pretend we didn't see. I walked across campus with my coat wrapped tight, the dress hidden beneath it like contraband. The night air was sharp, biting at my cheeks. Fog curled low along the paths like the campus was exhaling. I kept my head down. Still, I felt eyes. Even outside, even in the dark, Arkenfall watched. The ball was being held in the old courtyard, the one surrounded by stone arches and ivy-wrapped towers, the one the freshmen called Storybook, and the seniors called Territory. Warm string lights hung overhead, casting gold against the wet cobblestones. Music drifted out in low, elegant waves, something classical remixed with something modern, a heartbeat beneath the violins. Masked servers moved through the crowd with trays of champagne. Everyone looked expensive. Everyone looked like they belonged. And then there was me. I stepped through the archway, and for a moment, it felt like the air changed. Like the courtyard registered my presence and decided what to do with it. The mark warmed. Not a burn, a pulse, like it was searching. I forced my shoulders back and walked in. Conversations continued. Laughter rose and fell. But I felt it. The shift, the tiny tilt of attention, like a room full of predators smelling blood. People turned, people looked, and I realized something with a sick twist in my stomach. Kade hadn't just sent me a dress. He'd sent me into a spotlight. Across the courtyard, near the center, was Kade Valen. He wasn't wearing a mask. Of course he wasn't. He didn't need one. He stood in black, tailored so perfectly it looked like the suit had been built around him. His hair was slightly tousled, like he'd run a hand through it and decided he didn't care what anyone thought. People orbited him. Beautiful people. Rich people. People who smiled too brightly and leaned too close. He didn't smile back. His gaze moved across faces like he was counting debts. And then his eyes found me. For a single, suspended second, the world narrowed. The music dulled. The lights blurred. The mark on my wrist flared like someone had struck a match under my skin. Kade's gaze didn't soften. It didn't welcome. It claimed. My breath caught. And then he looked away, just like that. As if I wasn't standing there in his dress, wearing his bracelet with his name carved into my fate. As if he hadn't seen me at all. Heat crawled up my throat. A ridiculous sting behind my eyes. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I was relieved. But the mark pulsed again, angry and restless, like it didn't believe my lies. I moved toward the edge of the courtyard, trying to find somewhere I could exist without being swallowed. I didn't make it far. A hand brushed my elbow, not gentle, not respectful. I turned and found a boy, no, a man, leaning too close, his smile sharp with entitlement. I recognized him. Nash Harrowick. Old money. Arkenfall royalty by way of bloodline and cruelty. He had the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers and wanted nothing but to ruin whatever it looked at. His eyes slid over me, over the dress, the exposed skin, the bracelet. His smile widened. "Well," he drawled, voice smooth as spilled wine. "Look what the scholarship office dragged in." My stomach tightened. "I'm not," I started. He cut me off with a little laugh, as if my voice was adorable. "Don't worry," he murmured. "We all love a charity case. Makes us feel generous." I stepped back. He stepped forward. The crowd around us didn't react. They were close enough to hear, close enough to see, but they didn't intervene. They never did. Because this was Arkenfall, and Nash Harrowick didn't get told no. His gaze flicked to my wrist. "What's that?" he asked, too curious. I pulled my sleeve down instinctively. His hand shot out, fast, and caught my wrist. The bracelet flashed silver. The mark flared heat. My breath hitched. "Let go," I said, and hated how thin my voice sounded. Nash's grip tightened, and his smile turned mean. "Oh," he murmured, "it's real. I thought it was just a rumor. Valen's little pet." The word hit me like a slap. My vision tunneled, my pulse hammered. And then the air changed, not a shift this time, a drop, like the temperature plummeted in one violent second. Nash's fingers went slack, because Kade Valen had appeared. I didn't even see him cross the courtyard. One moment he was there among the crowd. The next he was beside me, close enough that his presence swallowed the space. His hand was around Nash's wrist. Not squeezing, not yanking, just holding. And somehow, that was worse. Kade's voice was quiet. "So," he said, calm as a knife sliding free, "you're touching what's mine?" Nash laughed, but it came out strained. "Valen," he said, attempting casual. "Relax, I was just..." Kade's gaze didn't move. "Just what?" he asked softly. Nash swallowed. Kade leaned in slightly, his mouth near Nash's ear. Though I couldn't hear the words, I saw the effect. Nash paled. His smile vanished. His eyes darted. Kade released him. Nash stumbled back as if he'd been pushed, though Kade hadn't moved an inch. And then Kade looked at me, not at my dress, not at the bracelet, at my face. His eyes were dark, unreadable. There was something in them that made my knees feel weak. "Come," he said. Just that. No, please. No explanation. My body moved before my brain caught up. Kade's hand settled at my lower back, barely touching. Not enough for anyone else to call it inappropriate. Enough for me to feel every nerve light up. The mark burned. We moved through the courtyard like water, parting around stone. People stepped aside, people watched, people whispered. Kade didn't look at them. He guided me toward the garden archway at the far end, where ivy climbed the stone and the fog grew thicker. The music faded behind us. The lights dimmed. The world narrowed until there was only the path, the mist, and the steady pressure of his hand on my back. My heart was trying to claw its way out of my chest. I didn't know what I wanted. I only knew what I felt. And what I felt was him. He stopped beneath the old tree, the one students whispered about, the one with roots that looked like veins and branches that reached like fingers into the night sky. The air here was colder, thicker, charged. The mark on my wrist pulsed so hard it felt like it might split my skin. Kade turned to face me. Up close, he was worse. Not in a bad way. In a way that made me forget how to breathe. His jaw was set. His gaze flicked over my face like he was making sure I was real. "You wore it," he said. I swallowed. "You told me to." His mouth curved, barely, not a smile, something darker. "And you obeyed," he murmured. Heat flushed through me. I started, but the words tangled. Because what could I say? That I'd come because I was afraid? That I'd come because I was curious? That I'd come because the mark wanted him the way lungs wanted air? Kade's hand lifted slowly. He didn't touch me. Not yet. He hovered his fingers near my wrist, close enough that the heat from his skin made mine prickle. The mark responded instantly, glow brightening, heat surging. My breath shuddered out. Kade's eyes tracked the reaction with a quiet, satisfied intensity. "Does it hurt?" he asked, voice low. "Yes," I whispered. His gaze lifted to mine. "And yet," he said softly, "you're still here." I hated him for that. I hated him for being right. Kade's thumb brushed the inside of my wrist. Just once. A single, deliberate stroke over the mark. The sensation hit me like lightning, heat and cold, and something that felt like falling. I gasped, fingers curling against my coat. Kade's hand tightened around my wrist. Not painful, just firm. Holding, anchoring. The mark flared bright violet under his touch, pattern shifting like ink in water. My knees softened. "Kade," I breathed, and hated that his name sounded like a plea on my tongue. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to something that felt like it belonged in a dark room, not under an open sky. "Say my name again," he murmured. I should have said no. I should have pushed him away. But the mark pulsed, demanding, and my body betrayed me. "Kade," I whispered again. His breath hitched. For a moment something raw flashed across his face, something almost like hunger. Then he stepped in, close. So close the front of my coat brushed his suit. His free hand lifted, fingers sliding up my neck. Not gripping, just resting there, like he was memorizing the shape of my pulse. "Do you know what you are?" he asked softly. I shook my head, barely able to think. His thumb traced my jawline. "You're a lock," he said, "and you don't even know what door you're on." My breath trembled. What? What are you talking about? Kade's gaze flicked toward the courtyard, as if he could still feel eyes on us even through the fog. Then back to me. The mark, he said quietly, was never meant to be romantic. The words landed wrong. My stomach tightened. Kade's fingers pressed gently into the skin at my throat, just enough to make me aware of how close he was. It was a trap, he murmured. My heart lurched. A trap for who? I whispered. His eyes darkened. For me, he said. The fog drifted between us like a veil. The mark pulsed, harder now, almost frantic. Kade's jaw clenched like he was fighting something. You don't understand what you've been pulled into, Elara, he said, voice rougher. There are people at Arkenfall who've been waiting years for this. For you. My blood went cold. For me? I echoed. I'm nobody. Kade's mouth twisted like he was about to laugh, but the sound never came. That's, what they want you to believe, he said. His hand slid down from my throat to my wrist again, thumb brushing the mark. The heat surged, violent this time, a pulse that traveled through my entire body. I bit down on a sound. Kade watched me closely. They used you, he said quietly. They marked you to reach me. My throat tightened. Why? I managed. Kade leaned in until his mouth was near my ear, his voice a dark whisper that made my skin pebble. Because you're the only one who can undo what they did, he said. The only one who can save me. A pause. A breath. And, he added softer, the only one who can destroy me. The words sat between us like a blade. I stared at him, trembling. The courtyard music felt 1,000 miles away. The world felt unreal. Kade's gaze searched my face as if he was looking for something. Fear, maybe. Or defiance. Or the moment I decided what to be. Then slowly, his hand released my wrist. The mark cooled slightly, like it was angry at the distance. Kade stepped back. Just one step. But it felt like the air changed again, like he'd withdrawn something essential. You should leave, he said. My breath caught. What? I whispered. His jaw clenched. Now, he said, voice low and sharp. Before they see you with me. Before they decide you're useful in other ways. My heart hammered. Kade turned slightly, gaze scanning the fog as if he was already calculating threats. Then he looked back at me one last time. His eyes were dark, possessed by something I couldn't name. If you hear my name tonight, he murmured, run. And then he disappeared into the mist, moving like he belonged to the shadows. I stood beneath the old tree, alone, my wrist burning with a mark that suddenly felt like a countdown. The fog curled around my ankles. The string lights in the distance shimmered like stars. And somewhere behind me, the music swelled again, sweet and elegant, like nothing had changed, but everything had. Because now I knew the truth. Kade Valen wasn't the danger I'd been afraid of. He was the warning, and the real trap was already closing. Run. That was the last thing he said before the mist swallowed him whole. Before the shadows of Arkenfall seemed to reach out and claim the space where he had just been standing. If you hear my name tonight, run. I'm standing under the old tree, the one with roots like veins and branches that claw at the moonlight, and my skin feels like it's vibrating. The mark on my wrist isn't just warm anymore, it's humming, a low, steady thrum that matches the frantic pulse in my throat. It feels like a small, trapped animal beneath my skin, calling out to the man who just disappeared into the gray. A trap. He said I was a trap, that someone marked me just to get to him. I stood there for a long time, the silence of the garden pressing in on me. I thought I was just a scholarship girl who got unlucky. I thought I was a victim of a stray magical surge, a glitch in the Academy's ancient system. But Kade looked at me like I was a loaded gun pointed at his chest. Like I was the one thing in this world capable of bringing him to his knees. And the worst part is how much I wanted him to keep holding the barrel. I look back toward the courtyard. The golden string lights look blurry through the fog, like dying stars fading out in a cold sky. I can't stay here. If Kade is afraid, if Valen is actually worried, then I'm in more danger than I ever imagined. Every second I stand here, I feel the weight of the eyes I can't see. Arkenfall is a place of predators, and I've just been told I'm the bait. I wrap my coat tighter around the velvet dress. The silk feels like a second skin now. Heavy, cold, and far too revealing for the secrets I'm carrying. I start to walk, my heels clicking too loudly on the wet stone path. Every shadow looks like a person. Every rustle of ivy against the stone sounds like a footstep following me. I don't go back to the ball. I can't face Nash Harrowick and his sharp entitled smile. I can't face the whispers of the elite who look at me like I'm a curiosity to be dissected. I take the long way through the cloisters. It's a graveyard of stone pillars and silent weeping statues, the kind of place where sound travels for miles and secrets go to die. I hear it. A voice. Not Kade's. It's low, urgent, coming from the deep shadows of the library archives. The surge was confirmed, the voice says. The girl was at the tree with him. The timing was perfect. My heart stops. I press my back against a cold stone pillar, my breath hitching in my chest. The stone is freezing, biting through the thin fabric of my dress. But I don't move. I can't. And Valen? Another voice asks. This one is older, sharper. It sounds like dry parchment rubbing together. Did he trigger the secondary seal? Did he take the bait? He touched her, the first voice says, and I can hear the smirk in his tone. I can almost see the way his eyes would be gleaming in the dark. The mark flared violet. It's active. He's tethered now. He won't be able to move against us without feeling her pain. Every strike he makes against the council will ripple back through her. He's shackled. Tethered. The word feels like a physical weight dropping into my stomach. They didn't mark me to hurt me. They marked me to shackle him. Every time he touches me, every time he protects me, he's walking deeper into their cage. He's a king being brought down by a girl who has nothing. I have to tell him. I have to find him before... Who's there? The voices stop abruptly. The silence that follows is terrifying. It's the kind of silence that precedes a strike. I don't think. I don't breathe. I just run. My lungs burn. The cold night air feels like needles in my chest, tearing at my throat with every gasp. I'm not running toward my dorm. I'm not running toward the safety of my locked door. I'm running toward the only place that feels like a sanctuary, even though it's the most dangerous place on campus. The North Tower. Kade's territory. I burst through the heavy oak doors of the west wing, my heels skidding on the polished marble. The hallway is empty, lit only by flickering candles that smell like expensive wax and old dusty secrets. My shadow dances wildly against the walls, a frantic ghost trying to keep up with me. I reach the spiral staircase. My legs are shaking so hard I nearly stumble. The mark on my wrist is white hot now, a searing line of fire that tells me he's close. It's pulling me. It's a compass made of heat and ink. I reach the top landing. His door is black iron, cold, imposing, and shut tight against the world. I don't knock. I can't. My hands are trembling too much to even form a fist. I lean my forehead against the cold wood, closing my eyes. Kade, I whisper. The door swings open before I can even draw another breath. The room is dark, lit only by the dying orange embers in the fireplace. Kade is there. He stripped off his jacket. His white shirt is unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing the tension in his forearms. He looks raw, like the polished, untouchable mask he wears at the ball has been ripped away, leaving something much more dangerous underneath. He doesn't say a word. He just reaches out, grabs my waist with a grip that is both firm and desperate, and pulls me inside, slamming the door shut behind me. He pins me against the door. His body is a wall of heat, a stark contrast to the freezing fog I just escaped. I can feel the heavy thud of his heart against my own. I told you to run, he growls. His voice is a low vibration that goes straight to my bones, making my skin prickle. I did. I pant, looking up at him. My hair is damp from the mist, sticking to my cheeks in dark, messy waves. I ran to you. His eyes flare. That silver light is back, swirling in his pupils like a storm over a dark ocean. He looks at me like he wants to push me away and pull me closer all at the same time. They're talking about a tether, I say, the words tumbling out in a rush. They said the mark is a shackle, that if you touch me, if you care, they have you. They're using me to break you, Kade. Kade's jaw tightens. A muscle leaps in his cheek and his grip on my waist increases just enough to make my breath catch. I know, he murmurs. He leans in, his forehead dropping to rest against mine. I can smell him, sandalwood, rain, and that dark, metallic scent of magic that always seems to follow him. It's intoxicating. It's the only thing that makes sense in this nightmare. Then why? I whisper, my hands finding the fabric of his shirt, bunching it up in my fists. Why did you touch me at the tree? Why did you bring me here if it only makes the tether stronger? His hand lifts, his thumb tracing the line of my jaw, tilting my face up so I have no choice but to look into that silver storm. Because, he says, his voice dropping to a breathy, intimate rasp. Some traps are worth walking into. He doesn't kiss me. Not yet. He just watches me. His gaze moves over my face, my neck, the deep, revealing V of the dress he chose for me. He looks at me like I'm the most beautiful thing he's ever seen, and the most devastating. You look ruinous in this, he whispers. His hand moves down, sliding under the velvet sleeve of my left arm. His fingers find the mark. The moment his skin touches the ink, I gasp. It's not pain. It's everything. It's a rush of heat that floods my veins, making my knees buckle. Kade catches me, his arm hooking around my waist, pulling me flush against him until there isn't a breath of air between us. "Does it feel like a shackle, Elara?" he asks, his mouth hovering just an inch from mine. "Or does it feel like belonging?" I can't answer. I can't think. All I can do is feel the way his thumb is circling the mark, over and over. A slow, deliberate friction that is setting my entire body on fire. It's a claim. It's a promise. I reach up, my fingers tangling in his dark hair, pulling him down, needing to bridge that final inch. When he finally kisses me, it's not gentle. It's a collision. It tastes like desperation, like two people drowning and finding the only air in each other's lungs. He lifts me, my legs wrapping around his waist, the velvet of the dress bunching up around my hips. He carries me toward the fire, never breaking the kiss, never letting me go. He sets me down on the heavy rug, his body hovering over mine, shielding me from the rest of the world. The firelight dances across his skin, making him look like something ancient and beautiful and terrifying. "If I do this," he whispers against my neck, his breath hot and ragged against my skin. "If I take what they're offering, there's no going back. You'll be mine. Not just the mark, all of you. Every secret, every breath. I'm already yours." I breathe, my eyes fluttering shut as I pull him back down to me. "I think I've been yours since the moment I woke up with your name on my skin." I wake up wrapped in black silk sheets that smell like him. The room is gray with the first light of dawn, the shadows long and soft. Kade is standing by the window, looking out over the academy as it begins to wake. He's dressed again, but his shirt is still open, his silhouette sharp and lonely against the glass. I sit up, the sheets pooling around my waist. My skin still feels the ghost of his touch. Kade. He doesn't turn around immediately. He stays perfectly still, watching the world outside. "They'll be looking for you soon," he says. His voice is back to that cold, controlled calm. But I can hear the edge in it now. The tether is there, pulling at him, reminding him of the price he's paid. "What happens now?" I ask. He finally turns. His silver eyes are unreadable, but there's a new hardness in them, a resolve. "Now," he says, "we play their game. We let them think the trap worked. We let them think I'm weak. Because of you, we give them exactly what they want to see." He walks over to the bed, leaning down to press a single, lingering kiss to the mark on my wrist. The heat is still there, steady and quiet. But they forgot one thing. He whispers against my skin. "What?" He looks up, a dark, lethal smile touching his lips. The kind of smile that belongs to a man who has already won, even if the world doesn't know it yet. A shackle works both ways. If I'm tied to you, then you're the only thing in this world they can't touch, without going through me. And they have no idea what I'm willing to do to keep what's mine. The worst part is how much I wanted him to keep holding the barrel. I look back toward the courtyard. The golden string lights look blurry through the fog, like dying stars fading out in a cold sky. I can't stay here. If Kade is afraid, if Valen is actually worried, then I'm in more danger than I ever imagined. Every second I stand here, I feel the weight of the eyes I can't see. Arkenfall is a place of predators, and I've just been told I'm the bait. I wrap my coat tighter around the velvet dress. The silk feels like a second skin now, heavy, cold, and far too revealing for the secrets I'm carrying. I start to walk, my heels clicking too loudly on the wet stone path. Every shadow looks like a person. Every rustle of ivy against the stone sounds like a footstep following me. I don't go back to the ball. I can't face Nash Harrowick and his sharp entitled smile. I can't face the whispers of the elite who look at me like I'm a curiosity to be dissected. I take the long way through the cloisters. It's a graveyard of stone pillars and silent, weeping statues. The kind of place where sound travels for miles and secrets go to die. I hear it. A voice. Not Kade's. It's low, urgent. Coming from the deep shadows of the library archives. The surge was confirmed. The voice says, the girl was at the tree with him. The timing was perfect. My heart stops. I press my back against a cold stone pillar, my breath hitching in my chest. The stone is freezing, biting through the thin fabric of my dress, but I don't move. I can't. And Valen? Another voice asks. This one is older, sharper. It sounds like dry parchment rubbing together. Did he trigger the secondary seal? Did he take the bait? He touched her, the first voice says, and I can hear the smirk in his tone. I can almost see the way his eyes would be gleaming in the dark. The mark flared violet. It's active. He's tethered now. He won't be able to move against us without feeling her pain. Every strike he makes against the council will ripple back through her. He's shackled, tethered. The word feels like a physical weight dropping into my stomach. They didn't mark me to hurt me. They marked me to shackle him. Every time he touches me, every time he protects me, he's walking deeper into their cage. He's a king being brought down by a girl who has nothing. I have to tell him. I have to find him before... Who's there? The voices stop abruptly. The silence that follows is terrifying. It's the kind of silence that precedes a strike. I don't think, I don't breathe. I just run. My lungs burn. The cold night air feels like needles in my chest, tearing at my throat with every gasp. I'm not running toward my dorm. I'm not running toward the safety of my locked door. I'm running toward the only place that feels like a sanctuary, even though it's the most dangerous place on campus. The North Tower, Kade's territory. I burst through the heavy oak doors of the West Wing, my heels skidding on the polished marble. The hallway is empty, lit only by flickering candles that smell like expensive wax and old dusty secrets. My shadow dances wildly against the walls, a frantic ghost trying to keep up with me. I reach the spiral staircase. My legs are shaking so hard I nearly stumble. The mark on my wrist is white hot now, a searing line of fire that tells me he's close. It's pulling me. It's a compass made of heat and ink. I reach the top landing. His door is black iron, cold, imposing, and shut tight against the world. I don't knock. I can't. My hands are trembling too much to even form a fist. I lean my forehead against the cold wood, closing my eyes. Kade, I whisper. The door swings open before I can even draw another breath. The room is dark, lit only by the dying orange embers in the fireplace. Kade is there. He's stripped off his jacket. His white shirt is unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing the tension in his forearms. He looks raw, like the polished, untouchable mask he wears at the ball has been ripped away, leaving something much more dangerous underneath. He doesn't say a word. He just reaches out, grabs my waist with a grip that is both firm and desperate, and pulls me inside, slamming the door shut behind me. He pins me against the door. His body is a wall of heat, a stark contrast to the freezing fog I just escaped. I can feel the heavy thud of his heart against my own. "I told you to run," he growls. His voice is a low vibration that goes straight to my bones, making my skin prickle. I did. I pant, looking up at him. My hair is damp from the mist, sticking to my cheeks in dark, messy waves. I ran to you. His eyes flare. That silver light is back, swirling in his pupils like a storm over a dark ocean. He looks at me like he wants to push me away and pull me closer all at the same time. "They're talking about a tether," I say, the words tumbling out in a rush. "They said the mark is a shackle, that if you touch me, if you care, they have you. They're using me to break you, Kade." Kade's jaw tightens. A muscle leaps in his cheek, and his grip on my waist increases just enough to make my breath catch. "I know," he murmurs. He leans in, his forehead dropping to rest against mine. I can smell him, sandalwood, rain, and that dark, metallic scent of magic that always seems to follow him. It's intoxicating. It's the only thing that makes sense in this nightmare. "Then why?" I whisper, my hands finding the fabric of his shirt, bunching it up in my fists. "Why did you touch me at the tree? Why did you bring me here if it only makes the tether stronger?" His hand lifts, his thumb tracing the line of my jaw, tilting my face up so I have no choice but to look into that silver storm. "Because," he says, his voice dropping to a breathy, intimate rasp, "some traps are worth walking into." He doesn't kiss me. Not yet. He just watches me. His gaze moves over my face, my neck, the deep, revealing V of the dress he chose for me. He looks at me like I'm the most beautiful thing he's ever seen and the most devastating. "You look ruinous in this," he whispers. His hand moves down, sliding under the velvet sleeve of my left arm. His fingers find the mark. The moment his skin touches the ink, I gasp. It's not pain, it's everything. It's a rush of heat that floods my veins, making my knees buckle. Kade catches me, his arm hooking around my waist, pulling me flush against him until there isn't a breath of air between us. "Does it feel like a shackle, Elara?" he asks, his mouth hovering just an inch from mine. "Or does it feel like belonging?" I can't answer, I can't think. All I can do is feel the way his thumb is circling the mark, over and over. A slow, deliberate friction that is setting my entire body on fire. It's a claim, it's a promise. I reach up, my fingers tangling in his dark hair, pulling him down, needing to bridge that final inch. When he finally kisses me, it's not gentle, it's a collision. It tastes like desperation, like two people drowning and finding the only air in each other's lungs. He lifts me, my legs wrapping around his waist, the velvet of the dress bunching up around my hips. He carries me toward the fire, never breaking the kiss, never letting me go. He sets me down on the heavy rug, his body hovering over mine, shielding me from the rest of the world. The firelight dances across his skin, making him look like something ancient and beautiful and terrifying. "If I do this," he whispers against my neck, his breath hot and ragged against my skin. "If I take what they're offering, there's no going back. You'll be mine, not just the mark. All of you. Every secret, every breath. I'm already yours." I breathe, my eyes fluttering shut as I pull him back down to me. I think I've been yours since the moment I woke up with your name on my skin. I wake up wrapped in black silk sheets that smell like him. The room is gray with the first light of dawn, the shadows long and soft. Kade is standing by the window, looking out over the academy as it begins to wake. He's dressed again, but his shirt is still open, his silhouette sharp and lonely against the glass. I sit up, the sheets pooling around my waist. My skin still feels the ghost of his touch. Kade. He doesn't turn around immediately. He stays perfectly still, watching the world outside. "They'll be looking for you soon," he says. His voice is back to that cold, controlled calm, but I can hear the edge in it now. The tether is there, pulling at him, reminding him of the price he's paid. "What happens now?" I ask. He finally turns. His silver eyes are unreadable, but there's a new hardness in them, a resolve. "Now," he says, "we play their game. We let them think the trap worked. We let them think I'm weak. Because of you. We give them exactly what they want to see." He walks over to the bed, leaning down to press a single lingering kiss to the mark on my wrist. The heat is still there, steady and quiet. But they forgot one thing. He whispers against my skin. "What?" He looks up, a dark, lethal smile touching his lips. The kind of smile that belongs to a man who has already won, even if the world doesn't know it yet. A shackle works both ways. If I'm tied to you, then you're the only thing in this world they can't touch, without going through me. And they have no idea what I'm willing to do to keep what's mine.